Hey guys, we are walking here in a street in the small town of Giverny in France. We are heading to Claude Monet's house, a famous French Impressionist painter. Giverny or Giverny in French is a small village in northern France by Normandy. And today we'll be exploring the small village because of Claude Monet or Oscar Claude Monet. He was the founder of French Impressionist painting and the most consistent and prolific practitioner of the movement's philosophy of expressing one's perceptions before nature, especially as applied as plein-air landscape painting. Fun fact, the term Impressionism is derived from the title of his painting, Impression Sunrise. Monet's life started when he was born on November 14, 1840 in Paris. He was the second son of Claude Adolphe and Louis Justin Aubry Monet. In 1845, his family moved to Le Havre in Normandy. His father wanted him to go into the family grocery store business, but Monet wanted to become an artist, and his mother was a singer who supported her son. On the 1st of April 1851, Monet entered the Le Havre Secondary School of the Arts. He first became known locally for his charcoal caricatures, which he would sell for 10 to 20 francs. Monet also undertook his first drawing lessons from Jacques-François Auchard. About 1856, on the beaches of Normandy, he met a fellow artist, Eugene Baudin, who became his mentor and taught him to use oil paints and the en plein air or outdoor techniques for painting. Sadly, on January 28, 1857, his mother died. Monet was 16 years old when he left school and went to live with his widowed childless aunt Marie-Jeanne Lecadre. A year later, Monet traveled to Paris to visit the Louvre. He witnessed painters copying from the old masters. Having brought his paints and other tools with him, Monet would instead go and sit by a window and paint what he saw. He was in the city for several years and met several painters who would become friends and fellow impressionists. One of those friends was Edouard Manet. In June 1861, Monet joined the 1st Regiment of African Light Cavalry in Algeria for 2 years of a 7-year commitment. But upon contracting typhoid, his aunt intervened to get him out of the army if he agreed to complete an art course at a university. Disillusioned with the traditional art taught at universities, in 1862 he became a student of Charles Guerre in Paris, where he met Pierre-Auguste Renoir, Frédéric Bazille, and Alfred Sisley. Together, they shared new approaches to art, painting the effects of light and en plein air with broken color and rapid brush strokes, in what later became known as Impressionism. Monet's Camille, or the Woman in Green Dress, painted in 1866, brought him recognition and was one of the many works featuring his future wife, Camille Donceau. She was the model for the figures in The Woman in the Garden of the following year, as well as for the one on the bank of the Seine, Bennecourt in 1868. Shortly thereafter, Camille became pregnant and gave birth to their first child, Jean. In 1868, due to financial reasons, Monet attempted suicide by throwing himself into the Seine. Just before the outbreak of the Franco-Prussian War of July 19, 1870, Monet married Camille on June 28. When the war started, the family took refuge in England in September. While there, Monet studied the works of John Constable and Joseph Mallord William Turner. Both of those landscapes would serve to inspire him innovations in the study of color. In the spring of 1871, his works were refused authorization to be included in the Royal Academy exhibition. In May 1871, The family left London to live in Zaandam in the Netherlands, where Monet made 25 paintings and the police suspected him of revolutionary activities. In around the autumn of the same year, the family returned to France and lived at Argenteuil, a village on the Seine near Paris, and here Monet painted some of his best-known works, such as the Impression Sunrise, depicting Le Havre landscape. It hung in the first Impressionist exhibition in 1874 and is now displayed in the Musée Marmottan Monet in Paris. From the painting's title, art critic Louis Logua coined the term Impressionism, which he intended as a criticism, but which the Impressionists appropriated for themselves. As for his personal life, Camille bore Monet another son, Michel, on March 17, 1878. The second child weakened Camille's already fading health. In that same year, the family moved to the village of Vitae. They shared the house with the family of Ernest Hochette, a wealthy department store owner and a patron of the arts, who had commissioned 4 paintings from Monet. Unfortunately, on September 5, 1879, at the age of 32, Camille succumbed to tuberculosis, and Monet painted her on her deathbed. After several difficult months following the death of his wife, a grief-stricken Monet began in earnest to create some of his best paintings of the 19th century. During the early 1880s, Monet painted several groups of landscapes and seascapes in what he considered to be campaigns to document the French countryside. Around that same time, Ernest Hochette became bankrupt and left in 1878 for Belgium. And while Monet continued to live in the house, Alice Hochette helped Monet to raise his 2 sons, Jean and Michel, by taking them to Paris to live alongside her own 6 children. They were Blanche, Germaine, Suzanne, Marthe, Jean-Pierre, and Jacques. In the spring of 1880, Alice and all the children left Paris again and rejoined Monet, still living in the house in Vitae. In 1881, all of them moved to Poissy, which Monet hated. From the doorway of the little train between Vernon and Gagny, he discovered Giverny. In April 1883, they moved to Vernon and then to a house in Giverny in Upper Normandy, where he planted a large garden, where he painted for much of the rest of his life. Following the death of her estranged husband, Alice Hochette married Claude Monet in 1892. Their life in Giverny began when they moved there in 1883, and by May, Monet and his large family rented a house and 2 acres from a local landowner. The house was situated near the main road. There was a barn that doubled as a painting studio, orchards, and a small garden. The house was close enough to the local schools for the children to attend, and the surrounding landscape offered an endless array of suitable motifs for Monet's work. The family worked and built up the gardens, and Monet's fortune began to change for the better, as his dealer, Paul Durand-Ruel, had increased success in selling his paintings. By November 1890, Monet was prosperous enough to buy the house, the surrounding buildings, and the land for his gardens. Within a few years, in 1899, Monet built the greenhouse, a second studio, a spacious building, well lit with skylights. Beginning in the 1880s to the 1890s, through the end of his life in 1926, Monet worked on a series of paintings, in which a subject was depicted in varying light and weather conditions. His first series, exhibited as such, was of haystacks, painted from different points of view and at different times of the day. 15 of the paintings were exhibited at the Gallery Durand-Ruel in 1891. He later produced several series of paintings including Rouen Cathedral, Poplars and the House of Parliament, Mornings on the Seine, and the Water Lilies. Monet was exceptionally fond of painting controlled nature, his own gardens with its water lilies, pond, and bridge. He also painted up and down the banks of the Seine. Between 1883 and 1908, he traveled to the Mediterranean, where he painted landmarks, landscapes, and seascapes. In 1911, his second wife Alice died, and his eldest son Jean, who had married Alice's daughter Blanche, Monet's particular favorite, died in 1914. After his wife died, Blanche looked after and cared for Monet. It was during this time that Monet began to develop the first signs of cataracts. During World War I, in which his younger son Michel served and his friend and admirer Clemenceau led the French nation, Monet painted a series of weeping willow trees as homage to the French fallen soldiers. Cataracts formed on Monet's eyes, for which she underwent 2 operations in 1923. The paintings done while the cataracts affected his vision have a general reddish tone, which is a characteristic of the vision of cataract victims. It may also be that after the surgery, he was able to see certain ultraviolet wavelengths of light that are normally excluded by the lens of the eye. This may have been an effect on the colors he perceived. After his operations, he even repainted some of these paintings with bluer water lilies than before the operation. Monet died of lung cancer on December 5, 1926 at the age of 86 and is buried in the Giverny Church Cemetery. Monet had insisted that the occasion be simple, thus only about 50 people attended the ceremony. After Monet's death, his son Michel inherited the house and the garden of Giverny. He did not live there, and it was Monet's stepdaughter Blanche who took care of the property. Unfortunately, after the Second World War, the house and garden were neglected. So in 1966, Michel Monet made the French Academy of Fine Arts as his heir to the famous home and garden with its water lily pond. Through the Foundation Claude Monet, the home and gardens were opened for visit in 1980, following refurbishment. In addition to souvenirs of Monet and other objects of his life, the home contains his collection of Japanese woodcut prints. The home is one of the main 2 attractions in Giverny, which hosts tourists from all over the world. And that is what we are visiting today. Since Monet is a very popular person even after his death, as you can see, there's a lot of people going in and there's a long line. The cost of an adult to tour the house or to enter is around €950, which is about $10. Also, here is a map of the whole area. We enter at the side of the house, which leads to the barn. street side, that is to say to the north. One can see how narrow the house is. From her bedroom, Alice could keep an eye on the children on the other side of the landing. Blanche's bedroom. Blanche lived in the state, taking care of it until she died in 1947. Some of her original furniture were left behind, such as the bed, the commode, and the bed table. Also, there are several authentic paintings made by Blanche, who was also a pupil of Monet. It includes the grain stack and snow effect. The dining room, the most dramatic room of the house. Monet didn't care for fashion, which was very dark and heavy in Victorian times. So he had the kitchen painted in two tones of yellow. This vibrant color enhances the blues of the dishes on the display in the buffets. The walls are packed with Japanese engravings that Monet chose with an expert eye. For 50 years, he collected the prints by the best Japanese artists, especially Hokusai, Hiroshige, and Utamaro. Lastly, there's the kitchen. The dining room is connected to the kitchen to make service easier. Monet wanted a blue kitchen so that the guests could see the right color in harmony with the yellow dining room when the door to the kitchen was open. The walls of the kitchen are covered with tiles of Rouo. The coolness of the blue contrasts with the warm glow of the extended collection of coppers. An enormous coal and wood stove kept the kitchen very warm year-round. After that, the exit is by the kitchen stairs onto the garden. With the support of the prefecture, Monet had the first small pond dug. Our walk in the crowd, gardens and house of Monet. Until next time, bye! So guys, if you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and feel free to comment.
Hit the bell, hit the bell, hit the bell, hit the bell, come on guys, hit the bell!
For notifications.
And don't forget to share!
And like!